My name is Mary Mattingly. I'm from New York City, and my residency period was from March to June of 2014. For the past 8 to 10 years, I've been working on what I would call proposals or tools, and I think that they've evolved a great deal from being wearable structures or wearable sculptures, I call them, which were these 3-part suits that would account for any environmental extreme to things that were less bubble-like and more interactive. The Flockhouse project started after I had done a project on a barge in New York City that had involved a lot of bureaucracy and a lot of permits and a lot of collaboration where I had to collaborate with businesses, I collaborated with other artists and city agencies, and all to make this thing exist in public space for 6 months. It had to always be moving in order to be existing in the space. And I came out of that thinking that so many beautiful things happened on that project. And I think after that it left a roadmap for someone to do something similar, but I wanted to really think about New York City on land and how we could reimagine a future city that was based on movement or autonomous parts, mobile parts that could come together and be taken apart depending on a situation. This project on this barge was a complete ecosystem. You had everything that you needed to survive. You had all the foods you needed. All the energy was created right on board this vessel. Rainwater was cleaned, and we had enough to live with 5 people and to host guests and visitors throughout a 6-month period. The Flockhouse purposefully had holes in these living systems, so people had to leave the structure and people had to come in. The Flockhouse really tried to look at that and think about how you could have some level of autonomy, maybe from the bigger agencies that we're surrounded by and have grown accustomed to in the United States, but also we're really reliant on our neighbors. So bringing the Flockhouse project to Omaha is in a completely different set of circumstances was a challenge. And part of the challenge was, whereas the Flockhouse in New York City was designed by myself and by an architect and then became collaborative after that point, this started from a place of collaboration with a series of workshops that involved design build, where 30 participants came in the first few workshops to pool ideas together and think about how we could design something that was specific to the climate in Omaha, specific to the water situations, to the potential tornadoes, to the weather here, to the resources that are available from the waste stream here. So we looked at all of those things as a group and came up with things that I never could have come up with by myself. There were a broad range of skills that we were able to kind of tap into and think about. And within this structure, that is almost more architectural than anything else. It's architecture and sculpture, but we had to think about poetry, and we had to think about all these things that people brought to the table in the process. So we looked around Omaha and Iowa as well and found materials from recycling centers, found materials from Bemis's building itself, from old gymnasium floors from Carver Bank. We've been working throughout the week to finish these things as well, and people have come in during the week, not just in the specific workshop times. We've built 2 flock houses, and one is about 8 feet diameter, the other is 12.5 feet diameter. They're built in triangles, so they're really modular, and you can change the shape and form. The idea was that they could be scalable and set up in different ways depending on where they were and who was using them and how many people were using them. They could potentially come together to create one big flock house that could be more of a pavilion, or they could be separate and wander in their own, and that's kind of where the name came from, is that idea that these things are moving interdependently and independently and can meet up and then move together.